Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into a true crime story that, well, it perfectly captures that saying, you never know what goes on behind closed doors. We're exploring the chilling case of John List, a man who, on the surface seemed to have it all together, successful, devout.
Right, the perfect image.
Exactly. But behind that facade, his world imploded into, well, an unimaginable tragedy. Our sources for this deep dive give us a really gripping look at his life, the horrific crimes, and the truly remarkable story of how he vanished.
For almost 2 decades.
For nearly 20 years, yeah. Only to be caught because of a piece of art, which is just incredible.
This really is a baffling case, even now. How does someone who seems so, ordinary, so involved in his church.
A Sunday school teacher, even.
Right. How does someone like that commit such awful acts and then just disappear, create a whole new life?
It's hard to fathom.
So this deep dive, it's not just about the facts, is it? It's about trying to understand the psychology, the layers behind his action.
And the investigation.
Yes, the incredible police work, the puzzle that finally came together. And it makes you wonder, how can someone maintain that kind of double life for so long?
Absolutely. So today, our mission is to unpack all those intricate details, John List's life, the tragic events, and that really amazing story of how he was finally unmasked. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. John List's background, on paper, it looks almost, impeccable.
Solid.
Born in Bay City, Michigan. His father, also John List, devout Lutherans, both Sunday school teachers. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
He served in World War II as a lab tech, 43 to 46. And academically, really quite impressive.
Very much so.
Bachelor's in business admin, master's in accounting, both from the University of Michigan. I mean, that suggests someone pretty smart, good with numbers.
Definitely. It seems like a clear path, right.
Excellent.
But then when you start to look a bit closer, you see these maybe hints of something else under the surface.
Okay.
Well, he gets recalled for the Korean War in 1950, marries Helen Morris Taylor in 51. She already had a daughter, Brenda. But then there's this pattern of constant moving. Northern California, Kalamazoo, Rochester, New York, working for Xerox there.
Okay.
And then finally, Jersey City in 1965. And that's when they move into this just enormous 19-room Victorian mansion, Breeze Knoll.
Wow, 19 rooms.
Yeah. And his 84-year-old mother, Alma, moves in with them. This constant relocation, the job changes. It starts to feel less like career progression.
Yeah, and more like...
Maybe trying to outrun something, personal issues, professional ones, or maybe just an inability to settle down.
And it wasn't just the moving, was it? The cracks in that perfect family man image started showing elsewhere, too. Coworkers apparently described him as aloof, cold, said he really lacked social skills, had very few friends.
Right. And this wasn't just him being, introverted.
No.
This difficulty connecting, this sort of rigidity, it reportedly led to him getting fired from jobs, even after getting promotions sometimes.
Which suggests a deeper problem, right? More than just, I'll try a different career.
Absolutely. It points to maybe a real difficulty adapting, navigating those social, professional complexities.
And things were tough at home, too.
Yeah. By 1959, the marriage to Helen was apparently deteriorating quite badly. Sources describe her as an alcoholic, unstable, angry, jealous, often taking it out on John.
Okay.
But the really critical piece, which came out later, is that John lost his job again in 1971.
Right before the murders.
Exactly. And instead of telling his family, he kept up this elaborate lie, spent his days at the train station reading newspapers, pretending to go to work.
Wow, every day.
Every day. This deception, plus the mounting debts, the mortgage foreclosure looming, it created this incredibly desperate situation for a man obsessed with appearing successful.
Terrified of being seen as a failure.
Terrified of exposure as a failure, as he put it.
So for someone like that, someone so driven by appearances, what happens when that world just starts falling apart around him? What's going on inside?
Well, it's like his entire identity was built on that external success, that image of the devout family man, right? So when the money problems hit, when the job loss happened, it wasn't just a financial crisis, it was an existential one. It threatened his whole sense of self.
And his personality didn't allow for flexibility.
Exactly. That rigid, obsessive, compulsive personality structure we'll talk more about, it meant he had very few coping mechanisms. He couldn't really ask for help, couldn't admit failure.
So he saw only extremes.
Pretty much. As we'll see, he perceived only drastic, terrible solutions. The pressure to keep up the facade, it must have been just immense. all-consuming.
And all that pressure, that need for control, it just built up until November 9th, 1971.
Yes, that's when everything takes that horrifying turn.
Can you walk us through the events of that day? It's grim but important.
It is. It started with this chilling precision. After the kids left for school, he found his wife, Helen, in the breakfast room, having coffee. He came up behind her and shot her in the back of the head, made sure she was dead. Then he went upstairs.
To his mother.
To his 84-year-old mother, Alma. Went into her room in her separate apartment within the mansion and shot her above the left eye.
Oh, God.
Later that day, his daughter, Patricia, 16, and son, Frederick, 12, came home from school.
And he
shot them both, back of the head, just like their mother.
There's a detail here mentioned in the sources that's just so disturbing. It really highlights something profoundly wrong.
You mean the sandwich?
Yeah. After killing his wife, mother, and 2 of his children, he apparently just went to the kitchen and calmly made himself a bologna sandwich for lunch.
It's deeply unsettling, isn't it? That act of, mundane routine right in the middle of such horror.
It suggests such a disconnect.
An extreme level of compartmentalization. Like the murders were just items on a checklist to be completed before moving on to the next thing. Even lunch. It's a chilling detachment.
The day wasn't over.
No. After lunch, he drove to the bank, closed his account, closed his mother's account, withdrew all her savings.
Okay.
Then later that afternoon, and this is just bizarre, he went to Westfield High School.
Why?
To watch his oldest son, John Jr., who was 15, play in a soccer game.
He watched the game.
Watched the game. Then drove his son home afterwards, seemingly calm, collected. Once John Jr. was inside the house, List shot him. Multiple times, chest and face. He later claimed John Jr. tried to resist.
Just devastating. And then he tried to explain it all.
He did. He sat down in his study and wrote a 5-page confession letter addressed to his pastor.
Which they found later.
Right. In it, he claimed he was trying to save his family's souls. He felt the 1970s were becoming too sinful. His family was giving in to temptation.
He mentioned his daughter wanting to be an actress?
Yes, specifically cited that, called it a corrupt occupation linked to Satan. It just raises that huge question, how does someone so religious twist their faith to justify this?
This mass murder as salvation.
Precisely, a deeply warped rationale.
And after the killings, the letter, the meticulous cover-up began.
Yes. He placed Helen and the children's bodies in sleeping bags, or on them, moved them into the mansion's ballroom, left his mother upstairs.
And the photos.
Methodically went through all the family photos and cut his own image out of every single one.
Just think about that level of foresight. Removing any recent picture the police could use.
Exactly. Then he turned down the thermostat, trying to preserve the bodies, slow decomposition, reduce the smell, turned up the radio to make it seem like someone was home.
And then he just walked away.
Turned off most of the lights, locked the doors, and vanished.
Leaving behind that house of horrors.
The actions, from the murders to the cleanup, the escape plan, it all points to a mind just laser-focused on control and getting away with it. That rigid planning again.
What's truly astonishing is how long it took for anyone to realize something was wrong. Nearly a month.
It is remarkable, but the Lists were known for being reclusive. They didn't really socialize with neighbors.
So nobody missed them right away.
No, and John had covered his bases, sent letters to the kids' schools saying they were going away to visit Helen's mother in North Carolina. Stopped the mail, the newspapers, the milk delivery, essentially created this bubble around the mansion.
But eventually neighbors did get suspicious.
They did. It was gradual. They noticed lights were on 24/7, but no sign of activity. Heard the radio playing constantly.
Which maybe wasn't that weird at first.
Right. But then the lights started burning out. One bulb, then another, then another. The house just got progressively darker and quieter, except for that radio.
Creating this really eerie feeling.
Exactly. That accumulation of strangeness finally pushed them to call the police.
And the police looked through a window.
Yes, eventually peered through a window and saw the bodies in the ballroom. Then they went in, searched the house, found Alma upstairs.
And the manhunt began immediately.
Nationwide manhunt. But, like we said, with no recent photos, they had very little to work with.
And the car at JFK Airport?
That was a deliberate misdirection, police figured. Made it look like he flew out, but there was no record of him on any flight. He likely took trains, buses.
Giving him an 18-year head start. He just became a ghost.
And his new life as Robert Peter Clark, or Bob, it really shows how hard it is to track someone who intentionally cuts all ties.
Where did he go first?
Traveled by train and bus, New Jersey to Michigan, then down to Colorado. settled in Denver by early 72.
Doing what?
Got an accounting job, blended right back in, even joined a Lutheran church again, ran a carpool for them.
Unbelievable. It's still keeping up that religious facade.
Met a woman, Dolores Miller, at a church function. Married her in 1985. She had no clue about his past.
Not at all.
Absolutely none. By 88, they'd moved to Midlothian, Virginia. He was just Bob Clark, working as an accountant, living this quiet, unassuming life.
Wow. Building a whole new life, a new identity, keeping that secret buried for almost 2 decades. What does that take, psychologically?
It takes that profound compartmentalization we talked about. It's almost like he wasn't just pretending to be Bob Clark. In his mind, he became Bob Clark.
Erasing John List.
Erasing the shame, the failure, the humiliation he couldn't face. His twisted religious view likely helped him rationalize the murders initially.
Saving their souls.
Right. And then the new identity allowed him to basically bury the guilt, or perhaps convince himself he wasn't truly responsible, and maintain this sense of normalcy in his new life.
But that carefully constructed new life finally started to unravel.
It did. May 1989. That's when America's Most Wanted decided to feature the John List case.
Which was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
It was the oldest case they'd ever featured at that point.
Yeah, 18 years cold. A real long shot.
And the key was the forensic artist Frank Bender.
Absolutely critical. Bender was known for his skill in aging fugitives' faces. He didn't just guess, he consulted a forensic psychologist.
To understand List's personality.
Exactly. To predict how List might have aged, how he might try to present himself. Bender created this sculpted bust.
Showing him older, receding hairline, sagging jaw.
And, crucially, wearing glasses.
Bender had this theory that List, wanting to seem respectable or maybe disguise himself subtly, would adopt glasses.
To look more important than he was. Interesting psychological insight. It really is how our self-perception might leak through even a disguise.
And Bender's work wasn't just insightful, it was incredibly accurate.
Spot on, according to the sources, just uncannily accurate.
So the show airs with this bust.
And in Denver, Colorado, someone is watching, an old neighbor of Bob Clark.
From his time there.
Yes. They see the bust, they hear the story, and they recognize him immediately.
Wow. And they called the hotline.
They did. That one phone call changed everything.
So based on that tip.
The investigation zeroed in. And on June 1st, 1989, FBI agents walked into an accounting firm in Richmond, Virginia.
And arrested Bob Clark.
Arrested John List. And remarkably, when they apprehended him, he was wearing the exact style of glasses Bender had put on the sculpture.
That's incredible. The art, the TV show, the public tip.
Yeah.
It all came together.
A powerful combination. Forensic science, media reach, and just ordinary people paying attention.
But even he didn't give up the ghost right away, did he?
No. For a full month, he insisted he was Bob Clark, that they had the wrong man.
Despite the bust, the neighbor's ID.
Despite everything, he held on to that identity. It was only when they confronted him with hard evidence, fingerprint matches from his old military records, prints from the crime scene, shoe prints, hairs from the mansion.
Irrefutable proof.
Only then, on February 16th, 1990, did he finally admit who he was.
It really shows how deep that deception went, doesn't it? He was committed to being Bob Clark, right to the bitter end.
It wasn't just a lie he told others. It seems like it was a lie he was telling himself, very effectively.
So the trial. List testified, tried to explain himself.
Yes, and it was quite disturbing. He talked about the financial problems, the shame of losing his job, feeling he couldn't tell his family.
And he blamed his wife quite a bit.
He did. The source material says he basically threw his wife under the bus, claimed he was dealing with her alcoholism, untreated syphilis.
Syphilis.
That's what he claimed, saying it made her paranoid, an unkempt shut-in who belittled him publicly, even about sexual performance, blaming the victim, essentially.
Trying to paint himself as pushed to the edge.
Exactly. And this ties into the psychological assessment. Psychiatrists diagnosed him with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, OCPD.
Which is different from OCD, right? Not just hand-washing or checking locks.
Very different. OCPD is a pervasive pattern. Extreme preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, control. But it makes someone incredibly rigid, inflexible, unable to adapt.
So for List, facing failure
was intolerable. His rigid thinking, fueled by this disorder, apparently led him to see only two ways out of his problems.
Which were?
Accept welfare, which he saw as the ultimate public humiliation, branding him a failure, going against his father's teachings, or kill his family. He framed it as sparing them the humiliation, sending them to heaven before they could stray further into the sinful world.
A horrifying rationalization.
Deeply horrifying.
Yeah.
And the psychiatrist noted something else significant. He showed absolutely no remorse, never cried, never apologized.
Which brings up that question. Does a disorder like OCPD excuse the behavior, or does it just help us understand the mechanism of that profound detachment and rationalization?
That's the core ethical and psychological question, isn't it? It provides a framework for understanding, but negating moral responsibility is another matter entirely.
He was convicted, of course.
October 12, 1990. 5 counts of first-degree murder.
And even at sentencing, he didn't take full responsibility.
Yeah. He said, I feel that because of my mental state at the time, I was unaccountable for what happened. I asked all affected for their forgiveness, understanding, and prayer.
The judge wasn't buying it.
Not at all. Gave him 5 consecutive life sentences, the maximum possible penalty back then.
There was that interview later with Connie Chung.
Yes, in 2002. A very revealing moment. She asked him why, after killing his whole family, he didn't kill himself.
And his answer.
Chillingly self-serving.
Yeah.
He said he didn't commit suicide because that would forbid him from entering heaven.
Where he hoped to meet his family again.
Exactly, the family he murdered. It just underscores that profoundly distorted, self-serving interpretation of his own religious beliefs, using faith to justify not just the murders, but his own survival.
John List died in prison, right?
He did. March 21st, 2008. Died in custody from pneumonia complications. He was 82.
And the house? Breeze Knoll?
Destroyed by arson about 10 months after the murders, August 1972, widely believed to be an act of public outrage.
Understandable.
A new house was built on the site in 1974, and there's that final ironic detail the sources mention.
The Tiffany skylight.
Yeah, apparently there was a rumor of an original Tiffany stained glass skylight in the ballroom, potentially worth over $1 million today, lost in the fire.
A material loss that just pales in comparison to the human tragedy.
Completely.
So this deep dive into John List, it's just a chilling look at how far someone can go to maintain appearances to avoid perceived failure.
It really is.
It's a reminder of the meticulous planning that can hide behind horrific acts, but also, thankfully, the persistence of investigators.
And the public.
Yeah. Everyday people making a difference.
And for those of us who study these cases, John List is more than just a grim story. It forces you to think about how distorted beliefs, obsession with image, how these things can twist a person.
Makes you look beyond the surface.
Definitely. It shows the societal pressures, maybe, but also those internal demons, the rigidities that can lead to just unthinkable devastation. It proves appearances can be incredibly deceptive.
So maybe the next time you meet someone who seems perfect, got everything under control, you might find yourself pausing for a second, wondering what could possibly be hidden beneath that carefully polished surface. What battles might be raging inside.